And we are live, and my audio is working, so those are two good things. And listen, Duke Duke survives a very competitive, close contest with Louisville, and we knew coming into this game, as we said in our pregame, video where we previewed this game, that it was going to be a tough game. We expected Louisville to play some of their best basketball of the season, and they certainly did in the first half. They started off 7 of 9 from 3, and then they were even 8 for 11 at one point early in the first half. And Duke just found a way to stay in the game. There was multiple points we text back and forth throughout the game where we wondered how Duke was in this game, and then there was certainly a point, I'll admit it, with about 12 minutes to go, where I said I have no idea how Duke is going to win this game. They were down as much as 14 points in the first half, and somehow the difference of this game came down to when Cooper Flagg went to the bench. Duke was down 55-50 with 10 minutes and 30 seconds to go, and then went on an 18-2 run. It was just kind of unbelievable for that to happen with how flag reliant this team has been in big games this year. And just as a major credit to Maliq Brown, Sion James, Tyrese Proctor, Mason Gillis was a part of that, and Con Knipple hit some big shots. So with all of that being said, what was your big takeaway from this game against Louisville?
That it unfolded pretty much the way we thought it would. That they would go on the road where they have lost how many? 11 out of 12 season openers on the road in ACC competition. And that they'd go on the road, there'd be a major letdown after the Auburn game. And Duke didn't disappoint us. And of course, Louisville goes on. Actually, it was 9 3-pointers. They had 27 of their 30 points were actually, I think, from 3-point range. 27, what was it? They were 8 for 11. Sorry. 24 of their 30 points. They were 8 for 11 from 3-point range. And so the game started.
Just to clarify, you're talking about their first half points?
First half.
So 24 of 37. Keep going.
Yeah, so it was like, but it unfolded pretty much the way we thought, that Duke would be and you and I have spoken about this. It just doesn't seem to matter. We're playing Auburn at home. The first segment, we're in a hole. We're on the road. We know that's our problem. The first segment, we're in a hole because the other team just can't miss a 3-pointer, and we can't get any offense going. And, it's sort of like, can we start with the second segment of the game? Let's just concede that we'll be down by 10, and then let's just play from there, because then we start to play better. But that's my only takeaways.
I think I've said this before. I don't remember this being as much of a problem when Coach K was the coach, but since Shire's been the coach, this has been a theme 3 years running where and if this year, I can't speak to previous years, but this year it's almost like a team challenge. How much of a deficit can we have and see how far we can push it before we come back? And it's unbelievable. This game, as you said, Auburn, Kansas, each game they're down double digits and they have to find a way to get back into the game. And this one took longer than the Auburn and Kansas games for Duke to get back in and take a lead. But once they did, they held it for good as this game went on. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of guys that we could key in on, to go through this game for Duke. I think the guy, though, that I want to talk about just right off the bat is not Cooper Flagg. It's not Tyrese Proctor. It's Maliq Brown. And how good has he been for a guy who's averaging probably around 5 points per game, if not less? He is, in a different way, Derek Lively, the back half of his freshman year, could impact games without scoring and be the best player on the court. And in a different way, Maliq Brown has a similar impact. It's just with more steals than blocks. And today, again, his defense and rebounding, because he also had a number of offensive rebounds that gave Duke another chance. And then the number of deflections and blocks and steals. He is just everywhere. I didn't realize it until postgame. He finished with 11 rebounds, 3 offensive, 3 steals, and a block, several more deflections. He had 6 points today, which seems like a lot for him. He was just awesome in this game.
Go through it. Run through his line again, because we will do that for Cooper Flagg to say what an amazing all-around game. And yet, I know you and I give Maliq Brown all the love in the world, but this game, he's not creating that chaos and that stability on defense, along with Mason Gillis and Sion James, who had a really good game, although, man, would I not like to run into a pick set by that guy. That guy, I don't know, he just looks bigger and bigger. He looks like he should be, in the what is it, the college football, in the playoffs.
Yeah,
the guy is huge.
He is. He's a problem, and not only that, he was extremely clutch today. Him and Maliq Brown. I think it's great that you went to Sion next, because those guys were the key difference makers in this game. Yeah, Proctor and Flagg were the leading scorers, but it was Sion James and Maliq Brown who made the difference today. And Sion James, I was just checking my notes for the time, but he hit what I felt like was a big 3 in the first half, late in the shot clock, as the shot clock was winding down. I believe Duke was down by 10 at this point. Proctor found him open in the corner, and he hit a 3. And it felt like Sion, he had 11 points today, but it felt like all of his points were at like key moments. And then he hit his free throws. He had several in that 18-2 run. He was the guy who scored a bunch of the early points. He had a dunk. He had another drive to the basket. He was just really important for Duke today, and glad we got him.
I certainly wouldn't want to be the guy having to guard him when he gets a head of steam going to the basket. I'm watching on television. I'm afraid I could get hurt, So, but it really isn't. So they had a 4-point lead at half, and just to emphasize this. And so we get to the 10:30 mark when we're texting each other going, I'm not certain if we're actually, because we're 10 minutes into the second half, and they had built the lead to 42-49 with go back 3:46. And then it came down to from 7 points to 5 points, back to 7, back to 5, and then Proctor, I picked. All right, Flagg has 2 drives. I can't read my own handwriting. Flagg has 2 drives, and then he picks up his 4th foul with 10:36, and that's when we said, I don't know how it can happen. And then right away, K2 hits his first 3.
Yes.
As soon as he came out, and then all of a sudden the game just that's that the Yankee games when they have the moment of the game. The moment of the game is when Cooper Flagg comes out, and I mean, who had that in their predictions? Flagg goes out with his 4th foul, and then all of a sudden the game gets completely turned around with a really great combined effort from the 3 veteran players and K2 scoring some points, and Proctor with a couple of drives in there too. It really, not the way I would have been diagramming it and say, here's the way, but let's talk a little bit, because we disagree a little bit about the Duke offense. So my biggest problem with the Duke offense is that there is no Duke offense. It is basically an isolation. Okay, Cooper, you take it. Proctor, you go up from 3. And we, even though we didn't have the lead, I really like the way that Caleb Foster is accepting his role off the bench and is coming in and looks really good coming in off the bench.
He was a reason we were within single digits at halftime. If he doesn't score his 9 points in the first half, it's probably an 8 to 12 point advantage for Louisville as opposed to what was it, a 4 point Louisville lead at the half.
4 point and a half. But Jack, you have a different opinion, or at least based on what you've picked up from Coach Shire in your many one-on-one conversations with him, that there really aren't many plays called on offense.
Yeah, my one-on-one conversations with Coach Shire that are me and everyone else who watches the YouTube post-game press conferences and all the reporters who are in there. So with that being said, it's not so much that I disagree with your assessment of the offense. I think your assessment is spot on because that's what Coach Shire has said. He has said that they don't call a ton of plays, that they want their guys to play freely, that they want them to be able to make decisions and not feel like, oh, am I supposed to shoot it in this spot or am I supposed to make this play? They want to be able to have freedom of decision making, freedom of movement, etc. But to your point, hopefully, what Coach Shire, I guess before I get to your point, what Coach Shire is hoping that leads to is that during 30 games of a regular season, by the time you get to March Madness, everyone has a good idea of where everyone else likes to be, where they like to move with and without the ball, what shots they like to take. And so then you do get a little bit more fluidity, and he doesn't have to call plays. And so it makes the team harder to prepare for, is what I think the goal is from Coach Shire. And to your point, though, right now, it looks rough. And there is a lot of stagnation offensively where the ball is stuck with one guy dribbling, and then 10 seconds go off the clock, then we move. The only times where it feels like there is some sort of offensive set is either mostly Khan, but then when Evans is in the game, they do like to run them along the baseline and set screens. Maliq Brown is really great at freeing up shooters off of off-ball screens. I believe that's referred to as a floppy action along the baseline. I can't say I know basketball plays, but I believe that's.
Are you sure? Do you have something stuck in your mouth, or could you repeat that?
Floppy?
No, the whole thing. A floppy action. No, that was a very okay.
Yeah. All right. So I've been in the one-on-one conversations. What can I say? And so you gotta pick up something, right? But with that being said, I think ultimately this is going to be a full circle moment here. But ultimately, that's why Coach Shire has played Con Knipple so many minutes early on, is because he wants the team to develop chemistry. And also, right now, clearly Duke's defense is ahead of its offense. And he trusts Con defensively, who is a really good team defender and a solid one-on-one defender, even though he may not be as athletic as other players. He's just really smart. And so that's why he trusts him so much, because he knows they've got to win games right now defensively. And then as the year goes on, they'll start to be better offensively.
I like the way you explain it, because otherwise I'm thinking back to, playing schoolyard ball, and it's sort of like, okay, whoever's got the ball is going to take it. He may pass to someone else, but then you're waiting for that person to make their offensive move to the basket. But I guess you're right that over time, as long as he keeps, that's why I think he should be. I like that he's gone to 9-man rotation, because he's using Isaiah Evans. I like that there's 9 players out there, because if that is the intent, that he's not going to call a lot of plays, then instinctually they have to know what to do if they can't get to the basket. That they, Flagg, the play that we loved is when he would drive to the basket and then just know that Proctor was on the wing and he would just shovel pass it to him. And because he drew so much attention, Proctor would be wide open. I hope, I think that being said, you still have to have an inbounds play. You still have to have a couple of key plays down the stretch. Otherwise, when it's a much more aggressive team, but, you asked me, while we were watching, what is the difference between the offensive flow here, which seems so stagnant, and I loved the offensive ability of Duke to put up 80 points against Auburn. And you challenged me to say, so were there really plays being called there on offense? Or was it that we were just having more success in scoring and that some of this was due to the look, it's Louisville, where, it's not Auburn, where we're just not up for the game the way we had. I mean, they played that way for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden they said, okay, it's time to win. And they go on an 18-2 run.
Listen, you're right. Without
my point is, without
Cooper.
Cooper Flagg, right? I guess my point is, I don't think we've really gotten to know, not even close, how good this team could be.
Yeah, and to that point, Duke wins this game 76-65, so they end up winning by double digits. And as you said, it took them about 30 minutes to get going. And they still, even though there was a period just before and during that stretch where they were 9 for 9 from the field, I think they were at one point like 11 of 12 from the field. They still only shot for the game 45% as a team, 27% from 3, 8 for 30. However, the one thing I will give them major credit for today, free throw line, 12 of 14. Really good.
That's the Duke team we know. I know one of them was Caleb.
Yes.
It has to be.
One of them
so
was
Caleb. Who had the other miss?
The other was Maliq Brown on his 1-and-1 attempt.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for him, but
and quickly circling back to your point on having plays like drawn up after timeouts, inbound plays, etc. I did think we had a nice play drawn up after there was a break. It was 63-57, and Louisville had the ball. They turned it over. Duke gets it after I think it's the under 8 media timeout. We had a nice play drawn up for Khan, who gets the ball on the wing, and Maliq Brown freed him up with an off-ball screen. He just missed the shot. But he does end up hitting a shot later on. But I do think it was a nice play drawn up to get him the ball there.
Well, and I think we should just steal one from Kansas's playbook, which is on the timeouts or on when they have inbounding on the offensive end of the court. It's one pass in, and then you're looking for the guy for the alley-oop going to the basket. And there's multiple. I mean, they've got to figure out how to get Mal involved in this, because he is so big, and there are games where you're going to need him. I'll put that in what was otherwise a really pleasant surprise after 30 minutes of pain. That they walked away easily with a win. It's like, I don't know. It's like Louisville played and was in it. And then it's like Louisville said, all right, we can't hit a shot. We don't have much bench strength. They're too good for us. And maybe from Louisville's point of view. On the other hand, I think we're only scratching the surface as to how good this Duke team is.
Yeah.
I do want to, since it is a game in which we're not, Cooper Flagg doesn't get like fouled out. Uh, the run occurs afterwards, but there was one play where his athleticism.
He missed the layup and then he got his own putback dunk. That was crazy.
That was crazy. But also, he was driving to the basket, and I assumed he was at the apex of his jump. And it's not. It's like there's like another 7 inches that he could rise up again. And I'm going, where does that come from? He is incredibly special. He doesn't get particularly angry about the foul calls. He fouled out, okay. He's happy his team won. He doesn't seem. He just doesn't seem. We're used to kind of like somebody like a Grayson Allen or somebody getting really animated.
Oh,
Cooper Flagg.
It's still early. It's still early.
I know.
But to your point, it's kind of surprising to me that this was the first game. I mean, he fouled out, but it was the first game where he really had to deal with foul trouble. And the reason it's surprising to me is how hard he plays. Like the guy, and Coach Shire tries to play him like 38 minutes. He only played 28 minutes today because of foul trouble, but he still had 20 points and 12 rebounds.
He went for 20. He went for 20 and 12.
Think about this. I think he had 6 or maybe 8 at the half. So he missed basically the majority of the last 10 minutes of the second half. He did the majority of his damage in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Just quickly, like some fun stats from this game, or notable ones rather. Maliq and Brown, that minute split is always like intriguing to look at. To your point, especially today, I think we should have got Mal more involved offensively. He only had that alley-oop today. He had a major size advantage. We didn't do a good job. Some of that is just our guards don't do a good enough job drawing an extra defender, which would free him up more. But sometimes also we could just find him on dump-offs. But the minutes distribution was 11 for Kaman, 29 for Maliq Brown today, who I thought this could be a Maliq Brown game, and it certainly was. But one last one before I turn it back to you. We had 13 assists today on 28 made shots, which is not very good. But what's interesting is that of those 13 assists, 6 Con Knippel, who is turning out to be, it's him and it's Cooper Flagg who've kind of been the leading playmakers on this team. And on a day where he shot 2 of 9 from 3, he contributed with his playmaking again.
So as long as you're doing the total stats, so we thought one of the keys to the win over Auburn was that as a team, we only had 4 turnovers against a very aggressive Auburn team. How many total turnovers?
7. Another just excellent job with ball security, good decision making overall. Just a really good job as a team to only finish with 7 turnovers in a game.
And what did Louisville finish with?
They had 10 at the half. They finished with 15.
Yeah, I thought we had 9 at the half, but I don't have the stats in front of me. I thought we actually were having a turnover issue in this game, but maybe it just felt that way in comparison to the Auburn game. So,
yeah.
Overall, great. Just happy to come out of there with a win, but the way we win at the end, it's just like you hit an on button, and the defense just locks it down. They can't hit a shot. And then the most unlikely scorers That's going to make it also very, very hard playing a 9-man rotation. Although to hear you say that Coop finished with 20 points and 12 rebounds in 28 minutes. Yeah, I guess you could almost write it in. It didn't even feel like it.
He's just that good. He just is. And every time you watch him, it's like today. He had like 6 points at the half. It's kind of crazy at this point. We're almost 10 games in now for a freshman to have like as much confidence in him as I guess I do. I think you do as well. Like he had 6 points at the half, and I was like, yep, he's gonna get his. Will the rest of the team score enough for Duke to win? So for him to finish with 20 wasn't necessarily a surprise. But for him to kind of battle through foul trouble, I think is good for him and the team, especially with how they did without him. I just want to shout out two other guys who we mentioned Evans a little bit, but I want to talk about Mason Gillis and then Tyrese Proctor. Mason Gillis hit a three-pointer today, and he played 16 minutes. He did a good job just being a solid player defensively. He was 1 for 2 from the three-point line. It was a big three-pointer in this game where Duke really struggled offensively until the last 10 minutes of the game, basically. And then Tyrese Proctor, awesome defense again, led us by far in minutes played today. Coach Shire clearly trusts him it's him and Cooper Flagg, I think, at this point. Those are 1 and 2. He did 37 minutes, 13 points, 6 of 13. The three-pointer wasn't falling for him, but he played really good defense again, which is just something that he has made his calling card. And the shot is going to fall based off of how he's done this year. So, again, for Duke to win this game by 11 points when they shoot 8 of 30 as a team from 3 is, to your point, goes to say just how good could this team be, on a day where everything is clicking. And that's what hopefully Coach Shire can pull out of this group.
Well, we know the next Duke game,
Incarnate Word.
I know I'm going to have to probably do a little research on exactly who they are. So this was the kickoff of ACC play, but it really doesn't kick in until I think the 21st when we play Georgia Tech.
That's going to be a tough game. Well,
what I was going to say, and boy, did I not like these announcers tonight. They were just like talking about the guy's pink suit. They were talking about the football pairings.
With the pink suit, just quickly, because you brought it up, I'm okay with going to that kind of stuff if it's a blowout. They went to it when it was like a 4-5 point game, and they're talking about his pink suit. What are we doing?
Not my favorite announcers, but one point that they did bring up, which is something you and I have always stressed, is every team in the ACC that we're going to face is going to give us their best game. Now, I think we have an incredible team capable of going to the Final Four and winning the national championship. I mean, there's a lot of teams that will make that claim. I think we're one of them, clearly. We have a deep bench. We have Cooper Flagg. We've got great deep team defense. All the things that I would look for in a championship team. But if I had to give hats off to Louisville, they certainly came out in that for 30 minutes, and especially in that first half when they were shooting incredible from the three-point line. I think that's what we're going to be facing every night unless, and here's the big if, we solve the first segment. And to our fans and listeners and everyone out there, first segment, we said it early on when we were beginning the podcast, was that the college basketball game, though it's divided in two halves, really the way to watch it is that each half is divided into 5 4-minute segments based on the television timeout. And it's that first segment that Jack and I referred to where somehow we have just keep digging a hole. So I'd like to see the game where we go up by 10 in that first segment. And then does that mean that we go on to win by 30? And, but I think every ACC game, they're going to give us their best shot. We're going to be highly ranked. After this, we're one of the top 25 teams that didn't lose. We took down Auburn. We took down Louisville. And was there a third game in the 7 days? Just those 2 games, which makes us one of the few. So I the rankings come out tomorrow. We're 9 now. You think 5, and I think maybe 4 even. But
I think Tennessee is going to be number 1. They were number 3. They didn't lose this week, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, I'm sure people will let me know.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, they didn't lose.
So I think they'll be number 1.
I think Iowa State didn't lose this week.
I think you're right. I think it's one of those things where they could end up ahead of Auburn in the rankings, but it's kind of weird because Auburn beat them. So it's,
right.
Personally, I would not mind if Auburn stayed at number 2, even though they lost to Duke.
And I don't think Kentucky, even though they had a loss earlier, that was a hell of a road win.
Yeah, they shouldn't. If they slide, they shouldn't slide more than 1 or 2 spots. That's a hell of a win at Gonzaga, to your point. Yep, I agree.
So, looking forward to seeing the new top 25. And with that, Jack, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, sir. So, yeah, and speaking to what you were saying before, conference play, we do have a couple of games before we get to conference play. So instead of looking ahead to Georgia Tech, we're going to be focusing on Incarnate Word and seeing. I don't know if Duke has an answer for the first segment because I'm with you. There's something going on there. But typically, they have responded quicker after the first segment than they have today. And today I felt like was a little bit of an Auburn hangover. And I think that will be better moving forward. At least I hope. But tomorrow we will be doing our Duke versus Incarnate Word preview, which I'm sure all of you guys scheduled on your calendars before the season started. And with that, if you're new to the program here at Talking Ball, we do each Duke game, and we'll be doing other basketball content. I'll be doing some draft stuff later on. JD's going to be doing Duke history, some stuff about coaches, whatever he really feels like. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, share it with a friend. If you don't have friends who like basketball, try to find some, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.